When a family reports to us that their child is experiencing any of those COVID-like symptoms, what we really do is we have that conversation with that family and explain kind of what our process is for exclusion around that. And so we ask those families that they assume that those symptoms are related to COVID until they can prove otherwise. And they can prove otherwise by going to see their doctor and having the doctor connect those symptoms to another alternate diagnosis, or that they go out and they get a negative test. And they can bring that back in to say that they're ready to come in. But again, we don't want to take any chances by letting that virus come in. It is so important that our families and our students are doing those daily symptom checks and those temperature checks every day. That's one way, because if you're experiencing any of those things, we want you to stay home. The next kind of step is, as students are walking into our building every day, we're verifying that there isn't a temperature, and we're taking temperatures every day just to make sure. Again, just another opportunity for us to mitigate that risk. And then we start to think about, once it's inside, if we have individuals in our building and maybe they didn't catch those symptoms, or they're not quarantining for 14 days because they've been in close contact, but yet they still are kind of asymptomatic, we look to do source control. And we do that by making sure everybody's got their mask on. By wearing their mask, we're reducing the opportunity for the virus to be exposed outwards. It's not going to get rid of all of that virus. So the next thing we do is we really implement those 6 feet of distance. That's why we have 6 feet of distance, so that if something does get out from behind that mask, we are so far away from an individual that it's not likely to pass in between. And then, of course, we're doing all those good things about healthy hygiene habits, so that we're making sure that we're washing our hands when we walk into buildings, when we leave classrooms, before we touch any objects. We want to make sure we're washing our hands and they're clean and they're sanitized. And then our custodial staff is doing all of the cleaning throughout our buildings as well, and really putting in a lot of effort to make sure that we're checking all of those frequently touched places in our schools, and that we are that's on a continuous cycle of cleaning. So a close contact is any individual that's within less than 6 feet of an infected individual for a cumulative 15 minutes over the course of a 24-hour period. So it's not that it's just a one-time shot, but when that individual across 24 hours has been within less than 6 feet of an individual for more than 15 minutes. And a low-risk exposure is when a student or an individual has been in the same indoor space for a prolonged period of time with an infected individual, but that person has not crossed over into the 6 feet of distance that doesn't equal 15 minutes, so they wouldn't be considered a close contact. But why we notify you that you are a low-risk exposure is so that you can be a little bit more aware. There's a long list of symptoms that are involved that qualify under COVID-19. And sometimes they're associated with other things that you may have, like allergies or maybe migraines because headaches one. But by us telling you you've had a low-risk exposure, we're asking you to be a little bit more diligent in monitoring those symptoms and making sure you're reporting each and every one of them. So we actually want everybody monitoring their symptoms every single day, just to make sure that they aren't experiencing anything. Again, the best mitigation strategy we have is to make sure the virus doesn't get into our buildings. And that's one of the first things that we're asking people to do, so that we can be sure that that virus isn't not only not spread within our schools, but it's also not spread anytime within our community.